Welcome to Parenting Unscripted, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am your host, as always, Katie Collette. Joining me today is a very special guest. She is a good friend of mine. Oh, and she just happens to be one of our producers, Rachel Osley. Rachel writes our words. So we don't really speak without Rachel. So, Rachel, thank you for joining us today.
And thanks for having me.
And just so you all know, Rachel is a mom of two. I would say a fairly new baby, but I mean, I guess she's
She's 15 months.
okay.
Time flies.
15 months old. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, Rachel, tell everyone about your sweet kiddos.
So my oldest, Rowan, he's 5. And Aurora, we said 15 months, my little princess.
She's so stinking cute. Both of them are adorable. I think wavy babies are the cutest babies, personally.
Of course.
Well, tell me a little bit about Rowan. What were some of your parenting goals for him when he was born? Did you have any goals?
I did. And they went out the window.
Yeah, right. I know.
My biggest thing was I didn't want to be a screen parent.
Yeah.
And I also really wanted to be really engaged and get on the floor and play with them. But Rowan is a COVID baby. So his daycare closed about a month in, and I was producing from home. So 8 hours a day on the laptop with my son next to me in his playpen with all the toys and Disney Plus playing on the TV for 8 hours a day. And it was just what we had to do and had to get by and you had to survive. And unfortunately, he's pretty screen dependent now, but can't really unring that bell. So that is what that is. And then when it comes to playing, I learned you had to balance. So I don't do my chores Monday through Friday. I do them on the weekend. And that's the time that you have to bond and play with your kids. So unfortunately, someone's got to do the dishes and someone's got to do the laundry. So I've learned that if we do the chores on Saturday, I can have Sunday fun day. Or if we do the chores in the morning, then we can go to the park in the afternoon. So it's all about balance, but it still breaks my heart every time Roman's like, "Mommy, can you play with me?" And I'm like, "Mommy has work to do."
No, it is really hard because you do want to be as involved as humanly possible, but we are working moms. We do have jobs at the same time. And even I feel like, because I know we both worked from home for large portions of our day during the pandemic.
Yeah.
When our kiddos were there, they saw mommy and they wanted to play, and we had to be like, no, 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 I have to do my job.
Oh yeah, I have pictures of me breastfeeding Rowan. He's in my lap and I'm typing on a computer. You do what you got to do and you make it work.
I think that's the key thing, though, is it's just kind of forgiving yourself for not even committing a sin in the first place, but being like, hey, this was the pandemic. We have to figure out how to get through this. I think everyone's life was just tossed upside down. And I think you really said it best, too. I think so many times with parenting, we go into it saying, like, this is the type of mom I'm going to be. This is the type of parent I'm going to be. And then we become that. And we're like, wait a minute. I think that I wasn't fully prepared for what parenting was going to be like, much less parenting in a pandemic.
Yeah. You can never, there's just no expectations and you have all these hopes and dreams and you think you know what it's going to be like. And then it arrives and you're going through it day to day. And it's like, okay, like this isn't going to work. And we have to go to plan B and C and D and E. And it just keeps going.
Let's talk about, first of all, being the parents of boys. Was there anything that really surprised you about raising a boy?
Actually, at my gender reveal party, I remember telling you, I knew it was a boy. I was excited for a boy. I wanted a boy. I was convinced he was a boy. And then the day of the gender reveal, which is only about a month before he was to arrive, I was like, I don't know how to play with a boy. I don't want to play trucks. I don't want to play with dinosaurs. Like I was like, I want to play Tea Party and with dolls. And I was like, I don't know how to play with a boy. But what surprised me is you were right. None of that mattered. It doesn't matter when you're just making that child happy. You'll do anything to make them giggle and smile and laugh, and it doesn't matter. You just connect and you will play and do anything, the silliest, craziest things, just to make them happy.
It's so true, and I know that we've talked about raising kids before, but they just remind you how cool things are. Even if you're like, I don't want to play with dinosaurs. I don't want to dig in the mud with sticks. And then you do it, and all of a sudden, the difference between a triceratops and a a megalodon, and you're like, the megalodon was huge, and all these random facts, and you're like, wait, I think I'm smart because of my toddler.
Yep. Nope, totally. Rowan had a the solar system phase, and he was telling me all these facts about planets, and I was still on the team that still thought Pluto was a planet, and I was just
We
like,
could
wait,
have
what?
a whole different episode on that.
Yes, true, totally.
I think it's super fun. And we are in our household, we're one and doneers. So share with me what it was like for you mentally and emotionally as you got closer to having Aurora, to giving birth to your little girl, and you knew like, hey, in just a few weeks, we're going to have another baby here. And these are kind of our last moments as a family of three. What was that like for you?
I was a wreck.
Yeah.
I wanted Aurora. I planned for Aurora. She was planned. But the idea, I was scared to death. I was going to lose that closeness, that bond with Rowan, because Rowan and I have a very, very tight, close relationship. And I was terrified of that. The good news is he was always on board. Rowan was obsessed with having a baby sister. He was still absolutely enthralled with her. The sun rises and sets on that little girl. So he was always very excited and confident and not afraid at all. I was the one, soaking in every moment with him, terrified that we were going to lose our bond. But we did a baby moon, a very extravagant baby moon. We did our first Disney cruise. So obviously I did pick that with Rowan in mind. And we just made that best of that family time, that live it up. And I promised myself that, we would have one-on-one time and we would still read stories together and do bedtime and things like that. And I made sure that I made that promise to myself, probably because I was the one more concerned than he was.
Yeah.
It was very, very emotional for me, but it turned out perfect because he just adores her.
Yeah. Well, I think that also speaks to your parenting style as well, because you're so just enjoyable and laid back. And I think it just makes all the difference in the world when your kids just feel the ultimate love from mommy and daddy. And I think that's so wonderful.
We're snuggle bugs.
Oh, I know, and I love it. So are we. We're big huggers, and I love it. I'm going to talk more about your sweet kiddos in just a moment, but we're going to take just a moment to take a small break. And we will be back in just a moment to chat with Rachel Osley a little bit more about some fun parenting, especially the difference between parenting boys and girls, because I hear there's a little bit of a difference there. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to Parenting Unscripted. I am your host, Katie Collette, and once again joining us is Rachel Osley, mother of two and one of our wavy producers. I had the pleasure of seeing her go through both of her wonderful pregnancies and seeing both wavy babies. So Rachel's first baby was a boy, Rowan, second baby, 15 months, Aurora, a beautiful, beautiful little girl. I need to know though, did you notice a difference so far in parenting a boy versus parenting a girl?
Night and day difference.
Yeah.
100%.
How so?
Rowan was a super chill baby. Very, very easy, laid back, go with the flow. If he had to be, if we were on a road trip and he had to go to bed at, midnight or something, he could do it like a champ. Everything was fine. Aurora is a princess, and she lets you know what she wants, when she wants it, how she wants it, and she is not afraid to tell you, and she's quite loud and vocal about it. So they look identical, 4 years apart, and they could be twins, but their personalities and their attitudes are so different. Aurora, you kind of have to just pick your battles, and you have to kind of, anticipate what she needs before she needs it, because then once she needs it, you've passed the point of no return.
I get that. Sometimes I feel that for myself.
Yes, and understandably. Yeah. So I will never fear for her. She will stand up for herself, and she will tell you what she wants. I'm never afraid that she's going to be walked over in school. So, but yes, night and day difference as far as their personalities.
Is it? So I know, I've seen friends who have a boy and a girl, and it seemed like the boy was more rough and tumble and the girl was laid back, kind of like tea party chill. Yeah. It's the opposite for you.
Opposite. She pushes Rowan out of chairs. She's obsessed with chairs, and she wants to sit on the chair like a big girl. And so she will push him out. And she will grab things from him. And she's a swatter. She likes to swat you. If you're not doing what she wants, she'll swat you.
Mhm.
So we're working on that.
That's okay. I mean, I know that kids can either be biters, hitters, swatters, whatever it is. So you have to kind of work with them. I mean, our Liam, who is now 11, so he doesn't really do any of those things intentionally now, but
That's good.
he was a hitter. So we had the book that was hands are for hugging, like hands are for high
Mhm.
fives and hugging, because we had to teach him you cannot take that toy and just clobber your pal with it. But I
Yeah.
was like, how is this happening? But then I know one of my best friends had a child who was a biter and was
Mhm.
like, where does this even come from?
Oh, the new thing, we just had Aurora's 15-month appointment on this past Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Self-harm. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh gosh.
So I never experienced that with Rowan. We're all used to the biting, which he wasn't a big biter and he wasn't a big hitter, but every once in a while, and somebody would bite him more often than anything.
Right.
Rowan never did that, but Aurora, when she gets really frustrated, she pinches herself all over herself, and she will bite herself to the point where she'll get like a little, because her skin's so fair, she
Yeah.
shows everything, and she'll get like little welts. So I had to ask the doctor, I'm like, what is this?
Mhm.
And she's just like, so the advice was get her like a teething bracelet, which I'm now searching for. That she can wear, and we can start teaching her that, hey, and whenever you're pinching or biting yourself, like when you're frustrated or mad, there's this thing right here on your wrist that you always have, and you can use that. But I didn't know that was a thing.
That I didn't know that either for little ones. You
Yeah.
just think they're kind of doing their thing, but that's good to be observant and realize, wait a minute, this doesn't seem.
Yeah. Apparently it's like there's a like a chemical release, like
Mhm.
that pain. So she's getting rewarded by it.
Mhm.
And so shocking.
Yeah,
Who knew?
I would say
No
so.
one told you that.
But you know what that shows me too, though, is there are so many there are people out there who are like, I don't know if I can do this parenting thing. I don't know what I'm doing, but it really is a parent's intuition.
Yeah.
You see that and you're like, okay, that's not right. So I'm going to ask the pediatrician about it.
Yeah.
And you can get answers that way, but that is just one of those things where, yeah, that, you bring a human home and you kind of figure out things that are right and things that don't quite feel right. You have to really trust your gut
Yeah.
with stuff.
Yep. And you're constantly texting people. Google is my friend. You're constantly asking for other people's advice and things, because you just, you'll never have all the answers, and you'll
Mhm.
never be fully prepared. And one child to the next. I mean, having Aurora 4 years later, I felt like a new mom.
Yeah.
It did not feel, everyone's like, oh, you have this, like you've been there before. Nope. It's like starting over from scratch.
I think so too. And did you notice I know 4 years difference, but did you notice things that you used with Rowan that really worked for parenting that with Aurora either you weren't supposed to use, like you found out you're not supposed to use these things anymore, or you're like, this isn't actually working this time?
Not really,
Mhm.
because for the most part, we are a hand-me-down family. So we use what we're given.
Yeah.
So I did keep everything from Rowan. So
Mhm.
Aurora's definitely got all those hand-me-downs, and we still use all of those things. And then other than that, we've been, fortunate to get things from consignment sales, from daycare hand-me-downs, or my mom picks stuff up at the consignment sales. So that is kind of our bread and butter and go-to. So I didn't have to really, it's not like, oh, I really wanted this and I can't have it because it's not available anymore,
Mhm.
because I was just happy to take whatever was given to me.
Oh, I'll tell you what, one of the greatest things, when you first have your baby, I know for me initially in the beginning, I wanted newer clothes. I thought like newer clothes would be great. And then after like a few weeks of being a mom, I wanted every single hand-me-down humanly possible because I knew it wasn't going to stay clean.
It doesn't.
And I would have friends who would do like the parking lot drop off where they would just drop garbage bags
Mhm.
of clothes
Yeah.
in the lot. And we had used, used clothes for him all the way up until he was like 8 years old because they're just going to get dirty.
Well, and they grow out of them. They wear them a couple of times and
Mhm.
then boom, they're out. And my kids are tiny kids. My kids are skinny kids. They're always in like, months below. And you only wear them like a couple of times.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And it's like, it's such a waste.
Yeah, you just don't need it. Take the hand-me-downs, folks. If you learn anything from Parenting Unscripted today, take those hand-me-downs. We have more that we're going to chat about with Rachel here in just a few moments. We hope you're enjoying this parenting conversation. We're going to take a quick little break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Parenting Unscripted. I would like to say once again hello to our wonderful guest, Rachel Osley, mother of two, and one of our producers here at Wavy. We're going to have a conversation now about teething, and it still makes my eyes water thinking of the lack of sleep. Did you have any tricks that you felt worked for you and your kids?
I have
You
still
and your
not figured
kids?
out teething.
Mm.
Teething is just a mystery.
Mhm.
Honestly, we didn't use any of the products. We're just not that big on medicating. So we didn't use any of the gels or anything like that. They of course have teething toys. Their preference is still going to be their hand. You know, they'd rather chew on their hand and
Yeah.
fingers and whatever. But they always had, you know, ample teething toys. My kids weren't passy kids, so you know, they really didn't take stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm the pacifier.
Yeah.
So there was lots of sleepless nights because the only thing that made them happy was being attached to mom.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and that, that's something too, because you breastfed each baby for,
Yes.
was it a year or longer than a year for each one?
Well, if we're counting being a pacifier, I
Yeah.
went with Rowan until he was 3. And then at 3, that was kind of the cutoff. Like, okay, we probably shouldn't be a pacifier anymore.
We're done.
I am still the same with Aurora. So we still have our snuggle time in the morning and we have our snuggle time in the afternoon. And if she's particularly in a bad mood, like yesterday when I got home from work, nobody could talk to her, nobody could touch her. She just wanted snuggles and she's digging at my shirt and signing milk. So I was like, okay, I know what you want. I don't think there's any milk there,
Right.
but it is comforting. And so there's lots of, so yeah, in the middle of the night when that's all that works, that's you rock her and you go from one side to the other and you snuggle. And it was just 2 days ago that I was up to like about almost 5 a.m.
And then have to come right back into work
And then you come into work. I thought about calling out, but I didn't.
because you are dedicated to kids there and here.
Well, and I just keep reminding myself like those days it doesn't last forever. And she's gained molars. She's got her bottom molars, her top ones are coming in. So those are probably like by far the most painful, I would think. So it doesn't last forever. The snuggles won't last forever. So I'm going to take what I can get and I'll stay up and we'll snuggle and rock in the rocking chair.
Yeah, you can sleep later in life. It just doesn't have to happen
Exactly.
now. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's okay to nap when you can, if you can. I think naps are key for both babies and us
That's
at
true.
the same time. Let's talk about some of your favorite things to do with Rowan and Aurora around town, because I know that you all are a very adventurous family and you like to be out and about. You're not just hanging out inside your house all the time. So what are some of your favorite local spots to take the kiddos?
So we are really big in nature, and it goes with that balance. You do your chores. So we try and get out in nature, get out of the house, get out in the sunshine. We do have a membership to the botanical gardens. So I do love to take them on walks, and we have like actually a flower pressing kit, things like that. So Rowan is just the sweetest. He loves to pick every little dandelion and give it to mommy. So botanical garden, the Lake Lawson, Lake Smith, that has a nice area where you can kind of hike. It's like being in the woods. And then there's a playground at the end because, that's what really Rowan cares more about, the playground.
Naturally.
So I get my walk, I get my hike, my connection to nature, and then he gets his playground.
Yeah.
But also Chesapeake City Park, that's my favorite playground because I love the old school castle wooden playground. It's like taking them and transporting them back to my childhood. So I love that they get to experience that. So it just, a lot. And I loved going to park hopping. We try and experience new parks and try new things because it's just, I want them to explore and see as much of the world as they can.
I agree. And there's something about getting your kiddos out in nature and running around and being outdoors that it's fun and rewarding to watch. And it's good for them too. Give them the fresh air.
Exactly. And I need it. Like I don't function without that weekend walk. Like it's so therapeutic.
I think that is such a fair point too, is just remembering to take care of you at the same time, because you can benefit from their outdoor time by that's your outdoor time as well. Is there anything when you were becoming a parent that you wish you knew about raising kids before you got into it?
How difficult 2 is?
See, enlighten me. One and doneers right here. So what is that like?
Well, everyone's like, you've been a parent. You've got this. You know exactly what to do. No one ever talked about the logistics of having 2. So when Rowan needs me, but Aurora needs me, I can't be in 2 places at once. And the reality is that my husband works mostly nights. So I do feel like a single parent a lot of the time because I am solo parenting a lot of the time, particularly bedtime.
How do you do that? Like, how do you do bedtime with two?
Not very well.
Oh,
Um,
I think you
I
do.
so I get off at work 6. By the time we get home from daycare, it's 7. So I have to figure out dinner, which is now I don't cook anymore. It's pretty much microwave.
Yeah.
Or Patrick will make something and he'll leave it for us, and I'll warm it up in the microwave. So you have pretty much an hour to get them fed. And yourself, which is so interesting because by the time I get them fed, my food's cold, got to start again. And I probably have like maybe 20 minutes now. 8 o'clock, you start your bedtime routine.
Oh, yeah.
So at that point, I'm getting them both ready at the same time. So I ask Rowan to brush his teeth, get his pajamas on while I start getting Aurora ready for bed. And then this is where the part that makes me sad is Rowan has to just wait for me. So I rock Aurora, I give her a bottle, I let her nurse, things like that. And that can sometimes take 30 minutes and that can take over an hour. And Rowan will just play in his room by himself, waiting for me.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad. And he has his own routine, you know, where we read a book and we usually watch like videos. He is Dr. Binox and all these, I want all these videos about how things work.
Yes.
And we watch those before bed and we snuggle and he gets his 5-minute snuggle time. So honestly, there are times where Rowan isn't in bed until 11 o'clock at night or 11:30.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel so guilty and so bad, but it's the only way I know how to make it work because he can't start going to bed until she's in bed.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it.
Well, you can't feel guilty about that stuff, Rachel, because you got to do the best you can with what you have. And he is still such a well-rounded, well-balanced, sweet guy. And I know that you have a great daycare.
Yes.
Because it was my daycare.
Yes.
So you know that
do.
Miss Randy's going to take good care of him too.
Yes.
Which is great. And doesn't it make you feel good when you know that you got a great daycare and they're going to return him well rested, well fed, happy, and educated? And it's a great combo.
It is. It was really, really, really amazing to find a daycare because it's hard. You know, we put them on the list the minute I found out I was pregnant. I mean, my family didn't know. Nobody knew. I mean, but you got to get them on this list.
Yeah.
So finding a daycare that you trust and will actually take care of them and care about them is really amazing and rare. So we were very fortunate.
Oh, absolutely. I could talk forever about daycares and about parenting with you, but we do have to end it there. I thank you so much for being my guest today, Rachel. I love chatting parenting with you at work and now also on Parenting Unscripted. And I thank all of you for joining us today. I hope you really enjoyed the conversation that I had with Rachel Osley, one of our producers, mom of 2, and a great friend of mine here at Wavy. Thank you all so much for joining us today for Parenting Unscripted. And don't forget, you can catch this every Tuesday morning on Wavy Plus. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and have a fabulous day.